All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for being with us. I know, I'm excited also. And please, folks, please be seated. I'm overwhelmed and humbled by your affections. In the mix today, Kim, everybody.
Kim, how are you?
Yes, Kim coming off of another show. Kim does multiple shows on the big YouTube network, everyone.
I'm a YouTube sensation. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Yes, I'll tell you something. If you want to see that young gal perform, there are many opportunities within the YouTube universe. And Tony, everybody.
Thanks,
Tony is here. Come on, Tony. Tony has worked us into his 4 jobs, and it is a delight to have you with us, sir. Yeah. This is quite the show today, Tony. You've beamed in on a good day.
Ooh.
David Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer winner, is in the second hour, of course. Bottom of this first hour, we'll talk to 2 guys who are musicians whose lives were upended by Scientology in a big way. I'm just learning their story. The story comes through Kim, actually, and I'm really excited to talk to them. But that's only a part of what we're doing. Jefferson Graham comes through on Tech Tuesday. He'll be here in the second hour today. And I also will touch on some things in law and disorder that are disturbing and surprising. Yeah. The Iowa poll, if you're into politics, the gold standard Iowa poll is something called the Seltzer poll. And that is out, and I'll review I don't think there are a lot of surprises there, but nonetheless, it may confirm sort of what we know about the GOP and what's happening in that world. Before I get too deeply into it, I do want to announce that I'm sporting my oversized glasses. These are like sports glasses today.
What happened to the other ones?
Well, the other ones are on deck, but well, I can't always find, this is a good question because I can't always locate the glasses that I need. But these oversized glasses make me feel like I'm a Lou Wasserman. Does anybody know who Lou Wasserman was? He ran Universal. He was this major figure in Hollywood, and he was mobbed up, literally probably connected to the mob. But he wore big glasses like this. Tony, did you rally a picture of Lou Wasserman? That's Lou Wasserman, all right? Okay, so he rocked those, and no one would dare say to Lou Wasserman, Mr. Wasserman, those glasses might be a little big for your face.
Well, I think it just gave him a good field of view, right? So he can look up and down. Everything's clear.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, it looks like he's wearing 2 windshields on his face.
That's a magnification
huge.
pretty good on that picture, man.
It's like, glasses and safety goggles all in one.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. The larger the glasses, the more the credibility, says John Radley. Yeah.
Right on, John. Okay.
My normal credibility glasses, let me just be clear. These are all credibility glasses. When you put your glasses on, you get more credibility. So my normal credibility glasses are not these, but these take on a patina of credibility. By the way, I got a note before we got into it. Patina's a ding word. I did get a note about the ding words, though. Can I take off my credibility glasses? And
there's a ding kind of a flap.
Controversy. Yeah, there is, truly. Well, let's get into it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
With so much show awaiting, I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to share this with you. In after-hours trading yesterday, after the show goes off the air, most people watch the show after it goes off the air. And this is they watch it in replay, which is, we love that, and it's really designed for that. So what is the latest on what they're saying? I go through and I, cull the comments and I see. And yesterday I get this. I should have sent this to Tony to put up on the screen, but let me just read it to you now. And it starts lovely.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Richard says, "Dearest Mark," that's always a strong way to begin.
Yeah.
"First, let me comment on what a spectacular show you have.
That's nice.
And you are the jewel of it."
Oh.
Wow.
Rude.
That is that is. So I love this guy already, right? This guy Richard. I'm drunk on this guy Richard. He's instantly in one line.
Yeah.
Become one of my favorite people.
He's truly the master of the S sandwich, right? The good, the chunk of bad, followed by the good. This is how you do it.
Yes, Kim has read ahead. And again, as we always tell you, or as I've noted, it's a pro tip, and I will share it with you again. Whenever you're going to send along anything to anyone, open with a compliment. Big fan. Listen all the time. Regular Patreon subscriber, if it's a Patreon situation like ours. Or I was with you from the beginning. Or even, I just discovered you, and it's the greatest discovery of my life. Whatever you want to say. That's the way, that's the way you fly.
Yeah.
Then it gives you license to say almost anything after that, right? But I don't like your jacket. But I don't love all, et cetera.
Right.
Because you're so endeared to that person at that point that you can get away with anything. All right, here we go. "Dearest Mark, first let me comment on what a spectacular show you have." Those on YouTube, you can read the remark along with me. "And you are the jewel of it, and you're the jewel of it." Okay, brace yourself. I think it is time for the SAT ding words to go bye-bye.
What?
Let me explain. Your audience is by far the most intelligent, thoughtful, and critical thinkers of anyone I know, including my own friends. Wow. But there's always a but, isn't there? There's always a but.
Here it comes.
But when you are having an intense conversation with David Katz, and then you interrupt the flow of the conversation with dinging, well, and this is in capital letters, it's irritating.
He's not wrong.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, I said it. Please take a poll. Next, Kim. I understand your logical feelings about why didn't the bozos make a road in and out or through Lahaina. The answer is money. Maybe we will see some movement with the new Biden infrastructure program, but other than that, all municipalities have their woes. Did I mention how much I love the show?
That's the last piece of bread in the sandwich, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's well written. Well done.
Yeah. So let me speak to the ding words, because I really can't speak to the rest of it. Somebody else wrote this, though, which is the only reason were just one comment, I wouldn't, but I also got something else.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with what you wrote about ding words. This is from Immortal Tiger. It interrupts the flow of the conversation, and sometimes a particular thought is lost, or, in capital letters, only use, quote, ding words when a guest on the show is not involved. So, actually, I think if you go back and look, the use of ding words, and again, if you're just joining us, this entire show came from the radio, and we've now evolved it, but we've kept certain things from the radio. And one of the things we kept was when somebody uses a bigger word, one that might appear on an SAT type exam, we ding it. Now, I think, as I was just about to say, I do it smoothly. I don't think I interrupt the flow. I mean, you can say it takes me out of the conversation because it's something totally different. Mm-hmm. But believe me, I don't lose my train of thought, as you know. I mean, I just keep on pushing. Now, maybe the compromise is what was suggested by Robert, which is, well, you just do it when you do, or Richard, was it? You just do it when you don't have a guest. Maybe that's the compromise. I'm wondering if we shouldn't take a poll on it. What do you think, Kim?
I think I understand the criticism because there are times where it can disrupt the flow of an interview, but I think it's more importantly, it's part of the flavor of the show. I think it gets people in general laughing, and also in a roundabout way to think about the words they're using. And I think it's helped all of us improve our vocabulary. I think it's part of the fun that we have here every day. I would hate to see the ding words go away, even though there are moments where I'm like, oh, I want to hear what this person is saying, and I would rather focus on that. I think we can't do away with the ding word because it's just so fun. But I agree.
Kim has given us a mixed review, Tony. This is very odd. Instead of getting the wall-to-wall, full-throated support of my colleague, I've actually gotten a kind of mixed review.
I love the ding. Are you kidding?
No,
the ding is amazing.
I appreciate the honesty, but there is a. So, what do you think, Tony? Tony, you're a veteran of many shows, and I respect your opinion, I guess is what I'm saying.
Depends on the show, because it's already built in. It's already baked into the show. Then,
thanks, Tony.
I think it could stay. But
all right,
thanks, Tony.
But it's baked in. It's one of those things. Like if it just came out of nowhere, then maybe. But But you've actually built. It's actually built into the show as part of the show. And I already started a poll just because.
All right, so there is a poll online.
Keep ding words, yes or no.
Keep ding words, yes or no. If you don't know what a ding word is,
70-30 right now.
I love the ding words concept, and my husband and I ding each other in conversation all the time. Says Handpicked Books YT. Dinging is my whole job, says Tom. I know Tom is the keeper of the ding. People are suggesting different compromises. Dings are canon. I agree. I mean, I think they are baked in, or they're canon. They are part of what we are. I think that too many words have a ding bestowed upon them, but it's a fun feature. Bestowed, by the way, is a ding word. I will tell you, ding when you don't have a guest. Okay. It's interesting, and we might begin to do that. But let's look at the poll. I'll tell you what I'd like to do, Tony. Let's do a poll today, and then let's do a poll tomorrow.
Okay.
And then based on the tally of the 2 days, we'll make a decision about the ding word. Now, I'm not saying we'll absolutely...
We could just do a community poll that'll just stay up outside the show. We'll do a community poll, and that could just go until you feel like we still feel like stopping it,
Okay, you know how to do that. I do.
Give everyone a couple days to vote on it. This is just a preliminary. Let's see what chat right now thinks. We're just
cool.
But we'll throw a whole community poll. Is what we'll do. But it's 72-28 now, yes. So it's going in your favor, Mark.
Oh, okay. Well, I really do try to, you may not realize this, but I really do try to be quite deliberate about the dings and not interrupt some time of important exchange. And you'll also may know, now that you may feel like, yeah, but any interruption is too much. So, okay. But you may also note that some of the guests really smile and like it when I ding them. I mean, David Cay Johnston does, Hiltzik does. These are 2 Pulitzer Prize winners, okay?
Katz does it on purpose. He knows when the dings are coming.
Katz smiles and laughs. Yeah.
It's also regular guests or special, kind of thing too. There's always that line too.
But even some of the people who are just passing through seem to enjoy it. So, but look, I certainly don't want it to be an annoyance.
Right? He had the author the one time. He was like, "What'd you just do?" And once you explained it, he
explained it. He loved it. Yeah. He came up with a bigger word. That's right. But look, I maybe I take your comments too seriously. People, if Albert were here, we go, please, you're keeping the dings. We're moving on. This is all BS. Albert would, Albert, his view, we were going to get rid of something else. And then we'll get started here, but this is sort of the preliminaries. But we were going to get rid of, because I didn't like, back on the radio station, there was a way you could text the radio station your thoughts. And I would read the text, and it was fine. It was great, actually. And you had regular texters, you had regular trolls, you had the whole run. Now, what we have here is a community, right? You have a community of people who are all getting to know each other, and it's a much, I think, improved way to kind of share thoughts. But anyway, so to get texts, I said, I want to run something, a sound. I like production elements like that. So we listened to all of these different sounds and all these different references, and we came up with that, why don't you just text it? And this guy's saying, why don't you just text it? And people loved it or they hated it. And I didn't stop for it. I used to run it, and I'd talk right over it. But it became a thing. And I said, I don't really love it anymore, Albert. Let's get rid of it. And we started to get blowback, like, people are they find it irritating or whatever. A couple of people said that. And when Albert saw that people found it irritating, he said, no. People find it irritating. You need to double down, run it more. And that is the kind of guy Albert is. That's the sort of producer he is. So he'll be here tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see where Albert is on this ding thing. But
what's interesting is, you can never make everybody happy. Someone always finds something annoying. Sherry says, keep ding except during interviews, but stop the smash it with your iron rod, lady.
Oh, my God. I was actually just thinking about smash it with your iron rod. I love to smash it with your iron rod. Yeah. I mean, again, that's a way to say smash
it with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash it like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Hit that thumbs up for the show. I love it. And vote on the poll that's up there right now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I would love to put off a little bit of the politics until maybe David Cay Johnston rolls around, if that's okay with you. I did promise you a couple of things earlier in the show yesterday that I didn't get to. I think one of them was I believe it was a caper. It was a
a good caper.
I know. I love a good caper too. Where are my notes on the British Museum? This actually is a run of a few things that do qualify for law and disorder. Do you have law and disorder ready to go, Tony? Can we do some law and disorder? How about it?
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
First of all, I will tell you that suspects were arrested in this huge Nike store robbery. This is in Southern California, in East Los Angeles. This is the latest in a string of brazen flash mob crimes. You know all about them. A bunch of people go into a store, they smash whatever display case might be out, and they grab everything from jewelry to electronics to handbags. Well, thieves were captured on video making off with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise from the Nike store. They fled in a red SUV. And the LA County Sheriff's Department stopped an SUV Wednesday, pulled the vehicle over, and they found large bags.
Look at them, just walking out.
Yeah, containing Nike sneakers. 6 people arrested there, their identities not released. The Nike heist, again, part of all of these daylight burglaries that have occurred across California, not just LA, San Francisco as well.
Crazy.
So these suspects were arrested. And I saw that Dick's Sporting Goods is actually blaming this increasing theft issue for problems with their bottom line.
Yeah.
They see this situation where flash mobs come in or however the ripoffs are going down as increasingly having an impact on their business.
I was at a Lululemon last night. Really expensive women's, and men's athletic leisure wear, right? Like we're talking $120 for a pair of leggings. Stupid, outrageous to pay so much money. But yet there I found myself. And it's very interesting.
No, you were there just to, were you going to buy something? Were you going to buy some overpriced leggings or what were you there for?
My daughter was looking for a backpack. And they had a reasonably priced backpack at Lululemon. Huh? And Lululemon is like the in brand for kids. They all want these expensive things. Most of which we can't afford to buy. However, because of the price of these things, like $127 for a sweatshirt, $119 for a pair of leggings, it has earned the eye of these people that come and scoop in whole racks of stuff and walk right out. Well, this store at Montgomery Village in Santa Rosa has a security guard. And when we walked in, he looked at us and he opened the door for us and gave us a smile and said, welcome. He did the same thing when we left, right? Watched us as we paid, etc. Ooh, that's a cool Mark mug. That's a new one. It's a red one. Look at that.
This is part of a project I'm working on that I'll tell you about. But yeah, thank you very much.
But I wanted to mention it because I've never seen a private security guard standing there at the Lululemon
like
at
it's Fred
Montgomery
Heyman,
Village.
or what's that? Fred, what is the Tony? What's the place in Beverly Hills? Winston Jewelers, or there's
Harry
Cartier.
Winston?
I can't hear you anyway. You're muted.
Harry Winston.
Harry Winston, thank you. That's yeah.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, that's it.
Or Cartier or Tiffany or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah,
they have guys there, but just to be
Right.
clear, and there are others that we don't know the names of, where they won't let you into the jewelry store or the watch/jewelry store until they kind of scope you out, right?
I mean, I'm sure if it had been, and because these rings, these retail theft rings, they use often kids, like groups of kids that are, 14, 15, 16, and they send them in, and that you saw that in the video, the people looked pretty young. And then, there's adults running the show, but they use these kids because if they get caught, their charges won't be as serious, I guess. I don't know. But I think that if we had been a different looking group, that security guard would have flopped that door shut, locked it, and barred the door. I mean, and think of the extra expense the store has to take to have that large man standing there who has to have some skills, so has to be paid a little more than, a minimum wage worker.
Yeah,
overseeing who comes in, who comes out.
In a way, that's the last thing you can do, because you can't shoot anybody, rough anybody up. You just can't. So you're right. There's a quality of intimidation. You get a big guy to stand out there. But even if they're armed, I mean, there was that controversy in the city about, shooting the dude who was leaving the Walgreens, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Remember? And he turned,
San Francisco.
and the security guard shot him and killed him.
Right.
And people, honestly, in the community were sort of like, tough S, buddy. You're a ripoff artist, and you pulled this stuff. They rolled around, but prior to that, it was not like you just ran out. So I don't know. My point is, you get into this problematic situation with handling these things, and so you end up not knowing what to do. And maybe the answer is what that Lululemon was doing, which is you have to be careful about who you let in.
Well, it makes me feel better for the workers in the store, and it made me feel safer as a shopper being in there without anything bad happening. This guy meant business. And so I was like, okay, this is good.
So I wasn't going to mention this, but I do have a real life story from just yesterday with one of these flash mobs, and it went down right next to the store I was in the mall. I was there at the time.
What?
Yeah. So yesterday, first of all, as you might imagine, I'm not a big one for, cruising around, shopping, trying stuff on. It's just not my thing. I'm just, and
what?
So
you're not?
Yeah,
no.
I went and I had to get pants. Okay. Now I'm really a good person for a salesperson to meet, because I'm usually I'm in a buying place if I'm out there.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Yeah. So I needed a new pair of pants, and so I go to Banana Republic because I'm a boring older white dude, but to be fair, that's sort of like, it's like a J. Crew-ish kind of thing, right? So I go there, and I'm trying on pants, which I hate doing. You have to go to the thing, and you got to take. It's just you get it. And I actually bought a bunch of pants, and I bought a jacket. It's very, very, I feel very special. But while I'm doing all this, so it takes about 40 minutes, I'm there. The manager comes scurrying up and says, "Oh my God, a flash mob just stole a bunch of stuff next door at the Louis Vuitton store."
Oh, yeah.
And so when she said next door, it wasn't literally the next, it was like a few stores down, maybe 3 stores down. So I don't do anything. We just finish up. And I walk there. So now we'll say 20 minutes has passed. And I look into the Louis Vuitton store, and there's no sign that anything happened. There's one dude who I see. He's dressed in dark police type stuff.
Right.
And he looks up just as I'm looking in. He looks right at me. And I kind of nod to him, and he nods back, and then he goes back to writing whatever on his pad. He was clearly a police officer who responded. Yeah. But it's so bizarre that they were more concerned, it seems, in not interrupting the flow of retail consumers. Yeah, they didn't close the store. Oh, my God, put up yellow tape. No.
Because it happens every week. Every Friday, come on in, steal stuff.
So, to that point, Dick's Sporting Goods warned that retail theft is damaging their business, would lead to lower annual profits. The sporting goods and athletic clothing seller reported second quarter results that included a 23% drop in profit. That's huge. This is despite sales that rose 3.6% in the same period. The company blamed this shrink thing, right? Shrinkage. That's the term for theft and damaged inventory. They also warned investors about this growing problem. Dick's is among the first to blame lackluster quarterly financial reports primarily on theft. The CEO, Lauren Hobart, said retail shrink is leaving us short of our expectations. They now expect their, and there's a bunch of stuff about their profits, but increased shoplifting incidents are a thing. And it's more than just a one-off of a bunch of kids from high school who do it, and it's more than just a homegrown crime ring. It is organized crime often, as Kim says, fronted by young people. It's groups that target stores that carry higher value items, electronics, sporting goods, I mentioned, the watch and jewelry stuff, designer handbags, designer clothing, and then secondary markets are there for this stuff to be moved, right, to be sold. Shopping malls and high-end stores in large cities, including LA, Chicago, New York, and San Francisco, has suffered a spate of dangerous smash-and-grab attacks. Perpetrators have used sledgehammers and other equipment to break into stores and make off with several $1,000s in merchandise at a time. So there you have a little bit of how it's impacting the bottom line. And cities are trying to fight back. There are task forces in place in conjunction with the FBI. They're trying to target these incidents where groups have 30 to 40 people arrive in a caravan of cars. They jump out at the valet, and the getaway drivers are out there waiting. And they go in, as they did with that Nike store, and they just clear it out, or the Gucci store, or all these designer stores that I can't even pronounce the names of. So this is a real issue. And as I say, it just happened yesterday in at this mall I was shopping in. And I did say this to them, Kim. I said, well, one thing is good for you guys. Nobody's coming into Banana Republic and smashing and grab anything.
That's not true. I would say Banana Republic is another one of those things where they come and scoop, because those clothes aren't cheap either, right?
They're not cheap, but yeah, I suppose you're right. I'll tell you what, they're easily scoopable. Although I tried on a jacket that had a metal cord through it, like a security cord. And she said, well, if you want, I can take the cord out. I said, why would I want that? I like it just the way it is.
The Mark Thompson Show.
No, wait a minute. I didn't get to my, let me just get you the last heist, which I promised yesterday. This is at the British Museum. Let me finish up Law and Disorder with just two other items. The British Museum has now fired a worker suspected of looting gold and gems from a storeroom.
If you're going to loot something, I mean, if you're going to be into a smash and grab, I think
go for it.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
Forget the Banana Republic pants. Go for the gold and gems.
The British Museum has fired a staff member on suspicion of looting jewels from a storeroom and started a review of its security practices. The worker, not yet named, stole or damaged items including gold jewelry and gems of semi-precious stones and glass dating from the 15th century BC to the 19th century AD. London's police force said in a statement that it was conducting an investigation. but it's the way they said it. They do the investigations in a British accent or so.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Exactly. Because of the police investigation, the museum will not comment on the value of the missing items or give any more details about them. But the museum said the majority of the items were small pieces kept in a storeroom. None had recently been on public display, adding that they were kept primarily for academic research purposes. Oh, yeah. So, this is for those who are serious about the Emil Schauphausen. Yeah, his research goes on. But the thefts are far from the first at the London institution, the British Museum. In 2017, the museum announced that 6 years earlier, it lost a diamond Cartier ring worth almost $1 million. Did you know that, Kim?
No.
This had just happened in 2017. In 2004, 15 pieces of Chinese jewelry were stolen opening hours.
Wow.
So the British Museum, they've got to relook at their processes, protocols, and standards.
I guess so.
They're not quite, there seem to be some holes in the process or the protocols. And finally, this note out of a Georgia court for law and disorder. A federal judge in Georgia has temporarily blocked part of a state law that prohibits hormone replacement therapy for transgender minors. It's a preliminary injunction, and this is more than a month after that original ban took effect, but they appealed the ban, and now this federal judge in Georgia has blocked part of the ban, okay, if you want to think of it that way. And so gender transition surgery and hormone therapy for the treatment of gender dysphoria in people under the age of 18 has been a controversy nationwide and in Georgia. And the plaintiff said the ban violated the rights of parents to make medical decisions regarding their children. They also said it violated the guarantees of equal protection by denying transgender youth essential and often life-saving medical treatment based on their sex and on their transgender status. So that continues, but that injunction was just put in place now. They blocked that Georgia ban that federal court did. Federal judge in Georgia has blocked the ban on hormones for minors. And so with that, we conclude Law and Disorder.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
It's a wild story that awaits you coming up. The Levin brothers, these guys are musicians, and were they just musicians, it might be an interesting story anyway. They grew up, with contemporaries like Jerry Garcia and, these guys who came up in that movement as that sort of music began to really inform the zeitgeist. It was what was out there. But these two guys are brothers, and they were swept up in Scientology in a way that affected both of them. That will be discussed here in a second. And there's a new movie about what happened to them. Are they both joining us, or is only one of them joining us?
We have one brother. We have one brother has fallen sick, and the other brother is picking up the slack and carrying on.
Wow.
We have one brother.
That's great. It's tough out here.
I'll take a brother. I like a brother.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's tough.
This is no
picnic.
No summer camp.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's tough. One goes down, the other brother has to pick it up. That's right. Kim and Tony, how do I do this? Kim, you want to do a super quick newscast, or do you want to do? I'll do it. Okay, and let's do a super quick turbo news, and then we talk about the Levin brothers, and their experience both in music and with Scientology. So, smash the like button like a boss. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Turns out FEMA officials responding to the fire that destroyed the historic town of Lahaina on Maui are reportedly staying at $1,000 per night luxury hotels.
What?
According to the Daily Mail UK, FEMA officials have been criticized for their slow response to the devastation, but this outlet suggests the officials who are staying 45 minutes outside Lahaina at 3 5-star hotels, because I'll tell you, there's really, not a lot of other places to stay if everything in Lahaina is gone. And if many of the condos are being used for burned out residents, you have places like the Fairmont Kealani, the Four Seasons, the Grand Wailea, pictured here.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So maybe they're thinking the FEMA officials might not be so quick to want to leave these luxury accommodations. The Grand Wailea. I'm telling you, I've never stayed there, but hey.
Oh my God.
What he's got going here
is a situation. You're not kidding.
Victims of the fire have complained about the one-time $700 payments to buy food, clothing, and other essentials. I think what they don't understand is a lot of disaster officials disaster victims don't get that extra stipend. They have to wait for the FEMA money to come through, but now they're being given this extra $700. So anyway, President Biden approved $7 million tax dollars for FEMA to respond to the disaster. According to the Daily Mail, most of that is going toward putting up as many as 1,000 FEMA staffers. And there they are.
You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
Yeah, and there's a Sam's still open there. They can get that on the way back. That is, look, it's galling. I'm just trying to think of options. You would maybe have options if you could set up literally a bunch of sort of portable FEMA offices there, maybe in, kind of a mobile home situation, but you'd have to organize that. I don't know that, that's possible. So supply and demand already drives the prices up. And then you mentioned those hotels. Those are some of the most expensive hotels in the world.
Yeah, so they are. And they're also the nicest. I could see not wanting to leave either. I don't know.
How was the situation down there in Hawaii? Oh my God, it was awful. It was awful. The room service, and they don't they don't refill the refrigerator at night. No, I meant to the people who were burned out of there. Oh yes, that's awful. Yeah. That's awful.
This woman is being charged for threats that she allegedly made against former President Trump's youngest son, Barron. In Chicago, 41-year-old Tracy, I guess she lives in Chicago, Tracy Marie Fiorenza, charged in Florida after she allegedly emailed the headmaster of a Palm Beach school that she will shoot Donald Trump Sr. and Barron Trump. Her charge holds a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. That's it? That's kind of a serious threat to make. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is the new age of everybody threatening, including Trump, right? You come for me, I'll come for you. You got to, get out there and fight. I'll see you in Florida. He did all that stuff, all those rallying cries. I mean, definitely, don't get me wrong. I'll shoot, I plan to shoot is another level. But I'm just saying it seems to be that age where, sadly, that seems to be the resolution and the go-to threat.
The Archdiocese of San Francisco headed to bankruptcy court. The Archdiocese announcing Monday it has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In a statement, the Roman Catholic Archbishop of San Francisco said the move was made to facilitate settlements with abuse survivors in over 500 sex abuse lawsuits against the Archdiocese. Many of those cases involve abuses that allegedly occurred more than 30 years ago, with priests no longer active in the church. The Archdiocese says it has already paid more than $70 million to sex abuse survivors. 500 sex abuse lawsuits. Anybody think this isn't a problem?
Any other business with those numbers would be closed down. They would close down any business. If they said KGO, which is our old radio station, had incidents of a dozen or even, whatever the number, in this case, it's hundreds and hundreds of sex abuse situations, the business would be closed down. They would be so embattled legally that they wouldn't be able to continue. Now you have increasing instances of this, which is we'll declare bankruptcy. We'll declare bankruptcy so we can deal with our situation. You declare bankruptcy because you're trying to protect your legal and economic exposure. That's the reason. It's outrageous. I find this kind of abuse under cover of religion to be one of the most grotesque things imaginable. Stealing lives the way they do. Sorry to be so heavy-handed, but it galls me when I hear this. And so they declare bankruptcy. All right.
Next, I will tell you that a man accused of killing the owner of a clothing store after an argument about a rainbow pride flag outside the California business, you mentioned this yesterday, Mark, had posted anti-LGBTQ material on social media. Here's the suspect. The news conference that happened yesterday with officials from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office says Travis Ikaguchi fatally shot 66-year-old Lori Carlton at her store near Lake Arrowhead. Ikaguchi, who was 27 years old, then also died in a shootout with deputies after he fled the store. So that's the update on that story. In San Jose, people returning to the airport, the San Jose Mineta Airport, are reporting their luggage being stolen. One man said when he returned from Alaska, his luggage was taken off the claim carousel. He had an Apple AirTag, which helped police track it to a homeless encampment in East San Jose. But it was several hours later. By then, his suitcase was pillaged. It was gone. Only a couple items were left inside. Done.
Wow.
I mean, once they get it out of the airport, that's it. But yeah, more.
But how did they get it out? They must have gotten it out between his flight landing and it ending up on the luggage carousel?
They got it when, I guess, quickly, like the minute it popped up. And if you take a few minutes to get down there,
idea, but it just
no, it's sick. I mean, that they can't protect my luggage for just for the minutes it takes.
They're going to have to go back to the old system where they check at the door that you have the claim ticket that matches the luggage, right?
I love that plan.
Yeah,
I love that plan.
Here we go again, back to security. X is planning to remove the automatically populated headlines from news links. The platform's owner, Elon Musk, says the change will improve aesthetics. When the new look is active, a post will simply display the link and the header image. And in Southern California, cleanup efforts continue after Tropical Storm Hillary blew through. In Los Angeles, hundreds of trees that were downed in the storm Sunday and early Monday remain on the ground. They need to be cleared away. The rain, of course, tapered off Monday in the Los Angeles area, allowing utility crews to work quickly to bring the power back on for many. But schools in Los Angeles today resuming operations after being closed Monday because of an abundance of caution.
I'll remind you that you showed that picture of Dodger Stadium flooded, and you'll remember I said there's no way it could flood because it wasn't. And you, to be fair, you said, I think it's just because there was some water on the parking lot surface, and it made it look like it was flooded.
It was an inch of rain, but from this helicopter that, from the sky where the picture was taken, it looked like Dodger Stadium was an island, but it wasn't really flooded.
And you couldn't even have an inch of rain build up there because of the incline there, on the home plate side of Dodger Stadium, it all runs down. I mean, it's like walking uphill. Yeah, so you cannot have actual flooding there. So we told you that yesterday.
Yeah.
But now the internet, and this has been like one of the most shared pictures. That's why I spend a second on it. Mm-hmm. The internet is finally getting hip to this, and they're going, it's a fake. It's not real. It's just an optical illusion. We told you about that yesterday, I think.
Lastly, and if you love the sitcom Frasier, you'll love the story. It is set for a return. A revival of the series set to debut in October with the first 2 episodes on Paramount+. The new season of Frasier will consist of 10 episodes. So here he comes. And I think maybe Kelsey Grammer is coming back. I don't know if there's a new Frasier.
I would hope.
I don't know. Frasier. Maybe Frasier's a brand new Frasier. I don't know.
Niles, they're talking about doing Frasier again, and they're not calling me. That's my Kelsey Grammer. Doesn't he? He sort of talks like this. And Niles. Well, Niles, this is a common situation where oftentimes they'll cast someone else, but nothing to panic about. He sort of has that kind of thing. Anyway. Yeah.
This report is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. Please find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. That's where the PayPal link is. That is where the Patreon link is. That is where all the good stuff is. It's themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on, of course, The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Who's Mark Thompson?
It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us on this Tuesday. Whenever you check us out, we always appreciate it. Sometimes many listen in replay. I'll mention again, you just saw a graphic, and then I want to get to Jeff Levin, who's got a great story to tell. The graphic was about our meet and greet, which is next Monday, okay? Or this coming Monday, the 28th. It's 7 to 9. It's a 2-hour virtual meet and greet. You don't have to put your camera on. You can just join us with just your mic. I still have a handful of spots. We're limiting it to 20. So it's a $50 donation to reserve your private link. Just RSVP now. And today we'll contact all the RSVPs and tell them how to hit the $50 and make the donation, and you'll have your spot reserved. But it's mtsmeetup@gmail.com. mtsmeetup@gmail.com. It should be fun. Some special guests, also Albert, Tony, Kim, myself, Courtney will be through, and we're looking forward to John Daly, I think, and we're looking forward to meeting you and hanging out with you for a couple of hours. It should be a lot of fun. So thank you. I've got just a handful of spots still left. This story is amazing. So I want to get into it now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
These are brothers. They're musicians. Jeff Levin was with Scientology for 46 years.
Wow.
He dealt directly with L. Ron Hubbard. And, you know, at that point, he becomes such an insider that his journey, were it just about that, would be interesting. But this story, Brothers Broken, is about his relationship with his brother and fellow musician, and how the Church of Scientology informed that relationship and ultimately destroyed that relationship for a time, but for a significant time, I think. That's my summary of what I understand so far. But how about a welcome for him? Jeff Levin, everybody.
Yay!
Hey. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Jeff. Great that you're here, man. Really, what a compelling tale you have to tell. So I was right, yeah? I mean, all that time with you working at the highest levels of Scientology at times.
Yes. And it was 28 years of separation between Ravi and I, my brother and I.
And that's because he didn't want to join the church, or wasn't as involved, or began to suspect it wasn't a good route for either one of you, or what?
You got it. He started suspecting issues, and he was a very perceptive businessman, entrepreneur. So any organization that he would be involved with, he right away could go, is this legit? Is this not legit? And in 1980, he went to the Mecca of Scientology in Florida, Clearwater, and he didn't say anything about it. He was turned off, and I wasn't. He was, and he saw behind the curtain, right? And so he didn't want to jeopardize our relationship. So he kept his mouth shut. And then because of other people coming out of it and talking to him, he got more information, and he went, oh my God, this is what it is? Because they keep it from you, right? They keep all of the dirty tricks and all the things that they do to their enemies, they call enemies. And then he was finding out all this, and he finally in 1984 sat me down. I could see it coming, that he wasn't as involved in Scientology as I was. And I didn't want to hear it, of course. And he just said, I can't do this anymore, and listen to this. And I said, no. You know, I was brainwashed.
Yeah, and it is a you're rewarded almost for saying no, from what I understand. Rewarded meaning they embrace you and hold you closely, those who are devoted as you are, to the point that you reject family members and others who are skeptics.
Well, that proves that you're loyal, that you're really, and then at that point, you're right. It is, you are rewarded in some respects in terms of keeping you close and allowing you to continue to do what they call the upper levels. And so, yes.
So I want to get to, in a moment, I'm going to get to like the point at which you thought, oh my God, what have I done? But I want to, before I do, just explore a little bit. First of all, your background is as a musician, as I was saying. You guys had a hit. You and your brother played music together. And how did you connect with Scientology? When did that, was that just part of the kind of the fad of these alt religions and sort of self-help things that you got swept up in?
Yeah, well, let me just clarify. We had a hit record in 1968 on Capitol Records. Our manager was Michael Hunter, or Captain Mikey at KLIV. Yeah, it's gone now, but I'm sure you know about it. And so we had a hit record then, and we had been working as a garage band. Michael Hunter picked us up and helped us. And we just slowly were getting bigger and bigger. And then we had the hit in 68. And concurrently with that, in about February, we were exposed to Scientology. And we were looking for something, right? We were searching like everybody else for the answer, right? In the 60s. And we were in the Bay Area, which was the center of enlightenment, in my opinion.
Sure.
And
certainly welcoming of alternative ideas. I'd say that.
Yes, exactly. So we went down there, and I had had a previous exposure to it by two musicians. So one of them, David Nelson, who was good friends with Joey Garcia and was in New Riders of the Purple Sage. He's still performing in the Bay Area with the David Nelson Band, dynamite musician, and he was my mentor. So he told me about it. That was much earlier. So anyway, I just walked into the mission in Santa Clara. I was already kind of prepped in a way. And I said, they gave us a lecture, and I said, where do I sign up?
And there's a sense then that, oh, there are other musicians, successful musicians, or musicians that I respect. In other words, people in the arts that I respect, who I respect and know, who are doing this. That seems like it's always the way that these things catch some momentum, right? Yes.
Well, Hubbard and one of his executives, Yvonne Jench Gillum, saw that you could get great positioning if you had celebrities talking about people, that they were touting it and saying good things about it. All of a sudden, you've got great publicity when you have that.
So that's continued, of course. They have the Celebrity Center in Los Angeles, and it's called the Celebrity Center.
That's right.
The question now I would get to is, and I will get to that moment where you disconnected, but what I'm curious about is how you handled the situation with your brother and other relationships in your life as people like your brother, who was part of it for some time. He went down there, he had this revelation that you speak of, and so he comes back, he talks to you, you push away. I'm curious about that, and also the other people, maybe even family members that you pushed away because you just didn't want to hear, this that you held so dear insulted. I'm talking about Scientology.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it started when we first joined, and it didn't cause a complete disconnection from my parents. However, I was pretty nasty, and it was hurtful. In other words, they, like any good parents, they were like, what is this? We're Jewish, and they're not Orthodox, but they're religious. And they were very open to anything we did. I mean, geez, they let my brother be in the band when he was in high school, right? So that started it. And then along the way, apostates, which means people who were in it and then left and then speak out, I would just kind of go, okay, not talking to you anymore, not taking your phone calls, because then there was no internet then. So it was just about, okay, I'm not taking your phone call. And then when we got to my brother, we were very close up to 84. I was hanging out with him all the time. I was doing music successfully, and he was as a composer and a recording producer. And he was successful with this clothing business. I mean, multi-million-dollar, called Melrose. And so I saw this coming, and then 84, it happened. I'm sitting in his living room, and he's telling me this stuff. And I just said, I don't know. I'm going to have to sever my connection with you. I can't talk with you anymore.
You told him that at that meeting, at that connection, at that conversation, during that conversation.
Yes.
So he was, and indeed, as I understand it, the church makes that a point. Like anybody who, I forget what do they call them, repressives or something.
Suppressive.
Suppressive. That's it. Yeah.
And they have they have a million acronyms, meaning, so he became an SP, suppressive person.
And so they tell you you can't deal with those people, right? You can't have any connection with them.
Well, because they're really dangerous. I mean, they're attacking Scientology, and anybody who attacks Scientology has crimes. These are laws in Scientology. So if I attack Scientology, all of my friends now who have disconnected from me, and we're talking hundreds, because I know so many people in it, they look at me as I'm insane. I am an insane person who's dangerous. And obviously I committed horrible crimes while I was in Scientology, but I kept them secret.
So I'll get to the movie in a second, but I'm curious about the relationship with your brother. So you are really someone who pushes away from this guy who you love dearly and used to see all the time and had a great, robust relationship with, which is not true of many families. To have that kind of relationship in a family is really special. And how long was it that you pushed away?
There was a small break for San Jose Rocks, Dan Orloff's wonderful event where he rewards people from San Jose who have had success in rock and roll and music. Really, it was 28 years from 84 to 2012.
That's just insane. And now tell me about 2012. Tell me about the moment you tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I mean, you realized that this was a bad place for you.
Well, I spent three years prior to that, from approximately the beginning of 2009 through the end of 2011 in acute depression. Clinical.
This is while you were still a member of the church, though.
While I was still a member of the church, but I couldn't use any medication.
Yeah, they're very much against any psychiatric drugs or even psychiatry. Yeah, right.
I couldn't do any types of therapy except their therapy. And so even that, I rejected after a few months they saw I was in bad shape. And at that point, they had handlers take care of me because I was in serious trouble, bedridden, agoraphobic, all of those things. And really, I didn't know. I was completely out of it. I lost control. And I'm not a control freak, except I am known for being calm and taking care of business. And all of a sudden, my kids see this zombie. I mean, I went from 165 to 124.
Wow. So what I have two questions. One is, what did the handlers do? And you say they were there to handle your situation. And then what brought you out of it?
The handlers were there. See, I was somewhat of a high-profile person in Scientology. I'd done something like 800 to 1,000 live performances, so almost every Scientologist saw me on stage, including the big celebrities. So I kind of knew them. There was a little respect there. They might not have known me well, but they, oh, this guy's cool. And so they did not want this getting out to anyone. So no one, it was just like people were going, what happened to Jeff? Oh, he had some physical problems. We're helping him. The handlers would come, try to get me to get outside. Now I'm agoraphobic, so that they could get me to kind of externalize a little, because when you're in a depression, you're just closed in. And then they would make sure that I would eat, because I was trying to starve myself to death. Seriously.
So you really were in a suicidal place at that point. So they tried to get you out of the house and tried to get you to...
Yes, and this is a kind of low-level therapy that is prescribed by Hubbard in one of his policies. So they tried to... I got to give them credit, and I appreciate that there's two people, I'm not going to mention them, but they were really great in terms of trying to help me. And I go, there's some very good people in Scientology. I mean, I consider I was a good person.
No, I'm sure that I'm sure that it runs the gamut,
Yeah.
In our last minute or so, I wonder now if you can take me to the moment where you had a revelation or you made a decision and you pivoted. I mean, it's a lot to give up. You've given up. And this is why I think this moment is so interesting, because you've really committed to this way of thinking, these people. You've rejected everybody in your family, your brother, who's probably the greatest love in your life. I mean, it's insane to think of what you've given up because you are embracing this other thing. So now, what is the moment where you go, uh-oh, I need to push away from this thing that I've embraced for so long?
I figured I was never going to get out. And then in September of 2011, I was down to looking at, I didn't have a TV or anything. I had an iPhone. So I was looking at something this big, right? But I would look at Google News. That's all I'd look at. And then I would read and I'd try to forget, right? Because it was a living nightmare for me. This thing came up, I think it was about Leah Remini, on Google News, which means, okay, it's a big deal to be a front top. And it took me to this journalist, Tony Ortega, and I read the article, even though it was forbidden to do. You're forbidden to read anything on the internet. I mean, forbidden. And I read it anyway. I didn't care by that time. Of course, I was, apathetic, depressed, so I didn't care what happened to me. And I read it, and then I went, wow, this makes sense. Nothing happened, but then I read the next article and the next article. So about 2 months later, after reading these articles, still being depressed, still people watching me, baby watch to make sure, because I was suicidal, just as you say. I woke up and it was a sunny day and the depression was 100% gone after reading these articles.
Wow.
It's so weird.
That's extraordinary.
And then I realized I know what was causing the depression. I knew that it was the organization, and I knew I was out of it. And that was it. At that point, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that we'll all refer ourselves to the movie, which is an award-winning documentary which chronicles this. And there it is,
yeah,
Brothers
there it is.
Broken. And congratulations on getting a forum and a platform to tell this story. I mean, it's compelling, and sadly, the kind of sacrifices you made and even the personal psychology you describe is all too common within Scientology.
It is. And I think one of the sacrifices, because I know we don't have much time, both my children did what I did to my brother. Talk about karma. They disconnected from me. They severed their ties 100%. Both my children, Colin and Savannah.
And this is because you're saying while you were in the church, they did?
No, after, when I left.
Oh, because they had been indoctrinated. They were in.
Well, guess who was a great deal responsible for indoctrinating them?
Sure, you.
Yeah, me.
What a terrible curse to live with, you know.
Well, that's why I did the movie. I thought, okay, what can I do to make up? What can I do to make amends? And I put a lot of my time and money into the film, not for me, although it was therapeutic. It really was a cautionary tale for others. And I'm hoping that my kids' friends, their friends, see the movie, because I know Colin and Savannah will not see it, but their friends might.
Well, the optimistic note one could strike is, look, I wouldn't have thought that you could get back together with your brother and have pushed away from the church the way you did after so long, and you did.
Yeah.
So stuff happens, and I wish you a reunion with them. But Broken. Where can people see the movie? Is it
okay? Well, great. We do have the 26th at the Icon in Mountain View, which I've heard is a really wonderful theater complex. So the Icon in Mountain View on the 26th at 11:30 a.m. It's kind of a weird time, but they can see it there. And then for people in LA, we just got the Studio City Film Festival, which we're really excited about. And that's going to be September 3rd at 7:30 at the Lemley NoHo 7.
Oh, that's terrific. And then I see also at the Hammer Theater, oh no, is that?
Well, we did that.
We did that already. Yeah.
Yeah,
I see. I'm sorry, it's passing. Yeah.
And it was a good turnout, good Q&A. And for me, I was, I'm the director and producer on this film and doing all the technical stuff. And I was just going, okay, is it going to sound okay? Is it going to look okay? It's like,
all of a sudden you're a filmmaker.
Well,
listen, first of all, documentary film is such a great medium, and what a great story to tell. Gosh, Jeff, I wish I had more time.
No, I understand.
Your story is compelling, and I can't wait to see the movie. And Brothers Broken, and I guess after these theatrical displays, it will be streamable, and we'll be able to find it elsewhere too. So one way or the other, we'll see it. Stay in touch, man. Really respect what you've done and your life journey and how difficult it was, and I look forward to seeing you again and hearing more about you. Good luck with the movie.
Thank you, Mark. It was great talking to you.
Jeff Levin, everybody. Yeah.
Mark Thompson Show.
Oh yeah, that's the information about our virtual meet and greet, which is going down on Monday night, and there's still a couple of spots left. We'll tell you more about it a little bit later. Right now, I don't want to keep him waiting another minute. He's the Pulitzer Prize winner, best-selling author. When it comes to government, when it comes to Trump, when it comes to taxes, David Cay Johnston is without peer. David Cay Johnston, everybody.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, sir. I was reading the numbers about trust in America. It was a celebrated poll. I'm sure you saw it, a CBS YouGov poll, I think it was. And it spoke to the faith that in the Republican Party, this is a Republican poll of Republicans, Trump is commanding the 71%, I think is the number, people trusting him more than their family, more than their clergy. I mean, it was really... I thought of you because you talk about the cult, that's associated with Trump, and it's a cult. And so, David, this is my question. Please remark on that, but it gets to a question, which is, how do you handle a political figure in America that's more than a political figure?
Well, it's an interesting challenge for democracy. It is a challenge. We've seen recently some evangelical pastors saying that their congregants want to be more like Trump and not like the Bible. They don't want to turn the other cheek. They don't want to have love for everyone else. They don't want to do unto others as they want done unto themselves. They want to adopt Trumpian approaches. And I think that's a good sign of what's really been a multi-decade, bit-by-bit breakdown on morality in America. 25 years ago or so, I was writing pieces in the New York Times quoting prominent accounting and tax law professionals as saying that the potential for making enormous amounts of money with sham tax shelters was just causing even some of the biggest firms to abandon their obligations in pursuit of money. And while everybody doesn't have a price, many people do. And if the price gets high enough, it's just like a lottery. Even an unfair lottery will attract people if the payout is big enough. And
that's a great statement. Oh my God, that just is. That's why you're a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Well, there's research about this. And,
okay, I get it, but still, it so frames it, that one statement. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I want to caution that I don't think the polling, I'm very distrustful of polling, partly because John Garaci, who's a pollster where I live and who wrote a book called Poll-Arised, has warned that political polls aren't terribly reliable because only about 1 in 100 people will answer the questions. And secondly, what we're seeing, if you look a little more deeply into the polling data, and all the legitimate pollsters publish all the questions and the answers, so you can read through them. What they show is that there are a lot of people who will voice support for Trump or say that they oppose prosecuting him, but they don't want him to be president. And, let's remember, Republicans are a minority party. So 71% of Republicans gets you somewhere around 33% of the public. And a lot's going to happen between now and next November with Trump. And, I don't know if you saw this in the news, but some months ago, I said to my family, and I had to make a record of it, that I think it is now possible that Donald will try to flee the jurisdiction if he knows he's going to go to prison. Because Donald, there's no interior there. If he's in prison, he's not Nelson Mandela or Navalny or you or me. There's no moral fiber to support him if he's behind bars. And lo and behold, Donald now made a joke about, I could just flee to Russia and spend my days with Vladimir. When Donald says things like that, he's thinking about them. He is absolutely thinking about them. So I think we should be on the alert for that because, Donald is like almost all bullies. He's a coward inside.
Yeah. I should remind people you've written 3 books that I can think of, but maybe more on Trump. I've read all of them.
3.5.
3.5. Okay. And as I think I mentioned last time, I like to, sometimes when I know you're coming on or whatever, I'll crack them open just to, even though I've read them already, just to read certain stories and parts. And I've told people who watch this show also that you can so enjoy the David Cay Johnston books. You just, again, needle drop them, crack them open anywhere, and there's stories about Trump. But I guess what I'm getting at is when you say something like that, I mean, you know him sort of on a granular level. You just know him so well. So when he says something sarcastically, I did hear him say it, or I read the statement, or maybe I actually heard him say it. Oh, like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, I'm going to go to Russia or whatever. Because he was speaking about the fact that he had to post a bond, right, David? That's what he was saying. He was making fun of the fact that they had made him post a bond.
That's the context of it. But Donald doesn't have any of the normal controls on what he says. So when Donald tells you that I'd be dating my daughter Ivanka if she wasn't my daughter.
Oh my God.
When he says when his younger daughter was an infant, still in diapers, on Robin Leach's TV program, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and Leach asked Donald and his then still mistress, not yet briefly wife, Marla Maples, well, what do you see of yourselves in the daughter? And Marla said something perfectly reasonable and normal. And then Donald said, well, she's got her mother's legs, and for those of you who aren't watching, I'm putting my hands up to my chest, spread out. But it'll be another 15 years before we find out if she's got her mother's. I mean, who says that about a baby in diapers?
Their baby.
And so when Donald says things, because he doesn't have these controls that most of us have for being a civil, polite, decent, he's thinking about it. He is thinking about it.
The Trump indictments, the legal cases as they grind on, they are, just a review for us, you feel they will damage him? You sort of alluded in some of what you've just said. You said, well, it's a long time and there's a lot that's going to come out. That sort of implied to me that you feel he may get sort of dirtied up in this process.
Oh, I think that the January 6th trials, Fulton County and Washington, D.C., as evidence comes out, and a lot's going to come out before any witnesses testify, it's going to be very bad for him. People who aren't complete blind Trumpers are going to realize that this wasn't like a one-off where he said things that were unwise on January 6th. This was a months-long scheme. It was a plot to overthrow the government. And I wish the TV networks would stop saying he tried to overturn the results of the election. He was trying to overthrow the government. This was a coup. It was a clownish coup because Donald doesn't have the skill to organize things. But nonetheless, it was a coup attempt. And we're going to see as time goes by what exactly Mark Meadows told federal prosecutors. We know from ABC News that he told them he never heard that Donald issued any kind of blanket order that said, I'm declassifying documents, or any documents I take to the residence or my home are declassified. And Meadows, of course, is not an unindicted co-conspirator in the federal case, but he is an indicted co-conspirator in the Georgia case, which he's trying to get out of. And that tension between the way the two different prosecutors are handling things, a lot's going to come out there. And we'll have at least one of these trials before the November elections, and hopefully before the party nominating conventions next summer.
So this is interesting. That skips ahead in the chat. They're asking, do you think we'll see a trial? So you think we will?
Yes, I think the most likely trial to go first will be the Washington, D.C. January 6th trial. Now, Donald, you'll notice something very significant has happened. Georgia has really tough rules on bail. I mean, this is a legacy of the racist history of the Georgia criminal justice system. But it's much harder to get bail in Georgia than it is in New York. And Donald suddenly has gone pretty close to radio silent in his attacks on witnesses and prosecutors. Once he is booked on Thursday and he has to go to this lousy, awful jail, we shouldn't have jails like this, but we do, and spend several hours there and probably spend some time sitting in a holding cell, whether he's by himself or with others, it's going to really bother him. And he may say some indiscreet things. But the judge in Washington, D.C. has made it very clear that, witness intimidation and interference with the administration of justice will not be tolerated. And her preferred method, she's made very clear, is not to jail him. It's to bring the trial to a closer date, to move it closer to today. Right now it's scheduled for, January 2nd. Trump is got his people out saying, it's 15 million or whatever it is pages of documents, we can't read them all. That's not how that's done. Companies now have developed software for legal research where they put everything into the software and it finds all the key words for you. The government has effectively told Trump's lawyers, here's what's really important. A lot of this is nobody's going to care about 1 million pages of what's in detailed documents. And who are the witnesses in this case? Well, they're going to be Donald Trump against himself because they're going to be able to play videos of things Donald has said. And then secondly, they're going to all be Republicans Donald Trump appointed. There's not going to be a single Democrat. You're not going to see Eric Swalwell or Katie Porter or Adam Schiff. They're not going to be testifying in this trial. It's going to be Republicans testifying.
The questions that come up, David, around some of what you said, here's one. This is a little funky, but if you really thought that Trump would hatch the plan to leave for Russia or anywhere, again, that you have to operate on this premise. Tommy asks, does the Secret Service help him flee the country?
Well, there's a very good question. The Secret Service agents are there to protect the protectee. We've had a president, I think it was George W. Bush, whose daughters were at a party where people were smoking grass, and the older Obama girl was at such a party, though she left right away. And it's no business of the Secret Service agents. They don't, that's not their job. Think of a Law and Order episode where the homicide detectives say to the guy who's terrified to talk to him, listen, we're not the narco squad. We don't care about your drugs. We want to know about this killing.
Okay.
Now, what if he actually was going to flee the jurisdiction? I don't know. And his plane won't fly all the way to Russia, I believe, from what I've read about its range. So he'd have to get somebody to cooperate in refueling. But my point is he's thinking about running away because Donald is a child. I mean, he's he's been stuck his whole life at being 13 years old. Why he treats women the way he does. This is a Groundhog Day as a nightmare, not a comedy. I mean, can you imagine having to spend your whole life trapped in the emotional turmoil of whatever your year of puberty was, 12, 13, 14? I mean, what a horror.
Yeah, but if you have that kind of money and visibility, it may take a little of the edge off the horror. Here's a question about the Trump followers. I like these questions for you also because they speak to the texture of America and how it seems to be changing. David, do you think the Trump followers will get violent again, scared about the crazies bringing out their guns, Karen says?
Yeah, there will be blood before this is over, but it's going to be more lone wolf, very small type things. You're not going to see thousands of people turn out for two reasons. First of all, the government's been incredibly effective in the January 6th prosecutions, now seeking 33 years for one of the Proud Boys, Enrico Tarrio, 18 years already handed out to Elmer Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers. And you got to be pretty stupid and self-destructive to take actions that'll risk long prison terms. You're going to lose your house, your family, whatever. But that doesn't mean there won't be somebody who will say, well, as a protest, I'm going to, with a sniper rifle, take out some cop somewhere. I mean, right after 9/11, there was a Sikh who was killed by a guy in Arizona who said, death to all you Arabs. And of course, Sikhs aren't Arabs. No. There was a sheriff's deputy who, an anti-tax guy I wrote about, mistakenly thought was from the IRS. I don't know how you mistake his black and white patrol car for an IRS unmarked car, but he shot and killed that deputy as a protest. We had the guy who flew his airplane into the building in Austin, Texas, to protest a section of tax law that isn't in the tax code that I've written about a number of times, that completely backfired, and Congress still hasn't fixed it even after that death. Killed a Vietnam veteran who was a manager of some kind, low-level manager at the IRS. So likely there will be some violence, but there are not going to be any mass uprisings whatsoever over Trump. That's not going to happen. But
it's interesting to note, David, didn't interrupt, but I was just going to say just on that point that his crowds that he calls for in Manhattan, in Florida, in Georgia, they just don't materialize. I mean, I think there's a lot. That's a litmus test of sorts.
Yeah, he got in the Manhattan arraignment. He got about 24 people. Interviews that I've watched on YouTube or news stations or listened to on the radio with some of these people made it clear that they were hoping to see Trump, and they were there with more of a festival atmosphere about this. He got a tiny group of people in other places, and his crowds at his rallies are clearly shrinking. And that's been going on for a long time. So, his support is, as wide as the country and about as deep as the sheet on your bed.
Yeah, it would appear really that it's going that way. But wow, those who believe really believe. The last question I have for you, David Cay Johnston, is about electability. There's just chapter and verse being cranked out about Trump's lack of electability, essentially, how that coalition of whatever it is, of those who are MAGA-ites, that they're just not significant enough in number to make him electable, even against a president who isn't super popular, and that's a different conversation. I'd love to have it about why Biden hasn't been able to message better, or we seem to respond to superficial stuff, and increasingly it's how many push-ups you can do. It's like high school. But go ahead. Speak to whatever you want, but electability is my question.
Yeah, in any other environment, I think Joe Biden's extraordinary success on the economic front would be helping him a lot, and clearly they're now out trying to pitch that and get people to understand. He's blown away the job growth over everybody else. And even if you discount the recovery from COVID, he still has better job growth than Trump did. On the electability issue, Donald cannot win the popular vote. That doesn't mean he can't get to the White House, because we elect through the Electoral College. And so if he can win Wisconsin and Georgia and Pennsylvania again, if he can win Ohio, it's possible he can get to 270 Electoral College votes. And this is going to be an ongoing problem after Donald Trump for the country because of the way the Electoral College works. The somewhat more rural states have outsized power. California has 2 senators, so does Wyoming. The population is almost 40 million and less than 600,000. And so this is going to be a long-term problem, but we need to pay real attention to, and we need to think about whether we need to revise our Constitution. But in any event, the concern isn't the popular vote. It is the Electoral College. Secondly, there's going to be a huge turnout of people over the Dobbs decision that and subsequent decisions where it's become very clear that the people who are in the anti-abortion movement are a lot more absolutists, I think, than any of us realized. You got raped and you're 10 years old. Tough luck. You got pregnant. God wants you to have that child. We're not going to let you have an abortion. You're not old enough to read a book in a library of your own choosing, but you're old enough to carry your rapist's child. That's brought a lot of people out to vote, mostly women, but plenty of men too. And so I think that augurs against Donald, even though Donald has a much more nuanced position about this. He's not.
Yeah, that's right. But he puts people in place in positions of power, judicial power, who don't have nuanced positions about this.
100%. Because Donald doesn't have any core philosophy except it's all about me, and I'm the only one who's competent or capable.
David, thank you for your time. We'll let you go, but look forward always to your thoughts, and I look forward to next time. David Cay Johnston, everybody. Thanks, David. Yep. Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's News awaits you, and then Jefferson Graham on Tuesdays, Tech Tuesday. We had something happen in the Mark Thompson home that I'd like to ask Jefferson Graham about that may affect a lot of people. So that's why I want to ask about it. But meantime, thank you for being here. Smash the like button if you would.
It with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod. Just one good smash with a thumbs up is all we need. Kim is standing by. Tony is here. Jefferson Graham is standing by. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of standing by right now, which is the way it should be. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and let us begin this time around with a pair of GOP presidential hopefuls now planning to file suit after being excluded from Wednesday's televised candidate debate. What? The conservative radio host Larry Elder, remember him, claims he met all the requirements set by the Republican National Committee to qualify for the debate in Milwaukee, but was told he was ineligible. Businessman Perry Johnson also says he met every requirement, but was denied. So now they're suing. United Auto Workers voting on a possible strike against the big three car manufacturers, Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors. More than 43,000 union members voting today on this strike. The result of the vote expected on Thursday. Union leaders are demanding wage hikes and increased benefits, with the current contract set to expire September 14th. There is a new survey that says a third of adults believe misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. This is according to a poll by KFF. Nearly all respondents said they had heard of the false claims, 96% saying they knew of at least one of the 10 claims they were asked about. The most widespread involved COVID vaccines. A third of the participants said they thought COVID vaccines caused thousands of sudden deaths in otherwise healthy people. Nope. 10% said they think it's definitely true. 23% said it's probably true. Again, nope. Close to a third also said they thought ivermectin, a parasitic deworming medication, was an effective COVID treatment. Nope. A Stanislaus County man is headed to prison after pleading guilty to passing forged treasury bonds. Hey, something doesn't look quite right with these bonds. What's going on? 37-year-old Ronnie Douglas Fleming of Keys is admitting to passing counterfeit treasury bonds on 10 occasions at banks in the Central Valley and the Bay Area. Fleming is scheduled to be sentenced November 28th and faces a maximum of 20 years in jail and a fine of up to $250,000. Hey, you get less than that for a violent physical assault. 20 years in jail for some fake treasury bonds? I take that very seriously. In Richmond, a spa remains closed after 2 customers died from contracting Legionnaire's disease on site. Contra Costa County health officials confirming it this week. The hot tub at the Zen Day Spa was the source of the Legionnaire's outbreak that killed 2 people earlier this month. 2 others confirmed to have contracted Legionnaire's after visiting that spa. They survived. The spa has been shut down since August 4th. It's unclear when it might reopen, since health officials say it didn't have the proper permits to operate in the first place. The plans to raise tolls on several Bay Area bridges being put on pause. 2 state lawmakers who had been pushing such a bill announced today, or Monday rather, that they were instead going to focus their efforts on finding different sources of transit funding. That's because nobody wants to pay higher tolls. Hear us?
Well, it's pretty expensive already. Come on.
$10 almost across the Golden Gate.
It's crazy.
The plan called for a $1.50 raise on tolls on 7 Bay Area bridges for 5 years beginning in 2024. We all know it's not just 5 years. Once you get that money out of us, you're going to keep sucking it out. The $180 million likely raised from that toll hike would have been used to sustain funding for Bay Area transit agencies who are losing some of their COVID relief money. So, they lose that money. They're coming to us with their hand out wanting more.
There's more mass transit around the Bay Area that needs to be subsidized. It's really sad. I mean, everything from the ferries to BART to whatever. I mean, it's just I don't know how you get out of this. I mean, everything takes money, and the one thing there isn't a lot of is money.
One thing there is a lot of: booze. Boozy, booze, booze. Another booze story. Alcohol is becoming less common for young adults to partake in, and more likely for older adults to drink. Yes,
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol.
Exactly.
Thank you. A new Gallup survey says only 62% of Americans aged 18 to 34 said they drink, compared to 72% 20 years ago. Meanwhile, adults 55 and over, we're drinking more. 59% said they drink now, compared to just less than a half 20 years ago. But overall,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
The same number of American adults say they have occasion to drink now as they did 2 decades ago.
I find myself increasingly at dinner and other meals with people who are not ordering a cocktail at all. And so what does that do to me? Makes me feel like an outlier, like a...
You drinking by yourself?
Yeah, well, like my behavior is not acceptable. So it's a good influence. Courtney doesn't drink at all. It's a good influence. Although she says that when I'm buzzed, it's the best version of me. So
I don't
maybe
know
I'll be
if that's
buzzed
good or bad.
for our meet and greet. Maybe I'll get buzzed for the meet and greet. Anyway, all right. So
I'm not in the age group yet where the increase in drinking is happening, but I don't drink that much either. Although there was book club on Sunday with the ladies, and I'm telling you, the champagne was flowing. That was a fun time.
Kim, how are you?
All right. Well,
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Yeah,
That's right. This report is sponsored by you, which means that we rely on you for funding on the show. You can check us out at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com, where you will find the Patreon and the PayPal link. And of course, the Super Chat is live here on YouTube.
Super Chat is live, baby. Yeah. Tom
this
Gunn. How about Tom
right.
Gunn?
That's
Thank you for a 10 spot, Tom Gunn.
Just came
Yeah,
through
big
with
shout
that.
out to Tom.
Big shout out.
Yeah.
Super exciting to see that come through. And of course, Pinky with her $1 a day.
Pinky,
We
$1
love
a
it.
day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
right
you,
on.
Pink. Appreciate the super sticker.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels good.
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, God didn't like that.
Yeah, there's our virtual meet and greet. You want to put it back up there? I'll just mention it one last time. It happens on Monday, the 28th, which is this coming Monday, 7 to 9. It's 2 hours. I know, it's pretty crazy.
What?
I know. Well, we wanted enough time that everybody could hang out, get to know each other a little bit. We could even have some fun. The guest list is limited to the first 20 that sign up, and it's $50 to reserve your private link. We'll get back to everybody who's RSVP'd today, and we'll then tell you how to do that. RSVP to mtsmeetup@gmail.com. mtsmeetup@gmail.com, and we'll see you on the 28th. I think we only have a couple of spots open, so but jump in. People fall out, etc. We can get in touch with you, and you can be an alternate, I guess, like an alternate juror or something. But it's really going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be on Monday. So that's the word on that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for this guy on Tech Tuesdays? He's the great Jefferson Graham. He's the longtime USA Today tech writer. He left that deal to get into the world of photographs and the world of, I would say, honestly, Jeff, I'd call you a travel photographer too now, but a consumer travel photographer. You bring the world of travel to those of us who don't want to carry a bunch of long lenses and stuff like that. I think it's a great service that you've kind of segued into. So anyway, welcome. That's my long intro. Welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Now, Jeff has this background now, which has, if you're watching on YouTube, become the source of opinion and voting, and he polls his audience. Do you like this background? Do you like that background? This is the background that the audience favors, Jeff?
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite roads in the world. This is where Forrest Gump stopped his run in 1993, and you would think people, who would even remember this? But this is in Monument Valley in Utah, and people all day long get out of their cars and pose in the middle of the street, and I just think it's one of the greatest streets, one of the greatest roads, and I'm thrilled and honored to be sitting in front of it.
That's very cool. By the way, what's the problem with that road, Jeff? The problem is that there's no what? Cell service. It's in the middle of those beautiful places that you so beautifully bring to us and frequent. Cell service.
No cell service. Try getting around. Try to figure out where you're going. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Like the native people. You have to look to the sky and the terrain to tell you everything.
Or read a map.
What? I never thought of that. My God, I could have read a map.
So what happened? What happened in the Mark Thompson household? I'm intrigued.
So let me tell you, it just happened this morning that I got this word. Late last night, Courtney is working on this business, etc. So she's dealing with an IT person who is doing that team share where they're sharing the screen. You know, you've done that with me on various things because you've been very helpful early on when we were getting going. And she said what became clear is that there are other usernames and other email addresses, or there's evidence that there are other people monitoring my computer and looking at the screen with access to the screen. You had mentioned that Zoom is one of those that at least was defaulting to that. You have to go in and select various options that keep them from monitoring your screen. But could you speak to, I don't know, is this malware, or is these are terms and conditions that we just agree to and we don't think about it?
Mark, this is a new one I've not come across, where people are watching my screen without me giving them permission. I don't know about this, and I don't know what the situation with Courtney was. Everything I've ever done is you need to give them permission. They look at your screen and then they go away. I don't really believe that people have the right to check your screen without your permission.
So just to be clear, it's possible that there's an evidence of presence there, but that they're not actively monitoring your screen all the time.
There's cookies. There's monitoring where you're going and what your IP address, what websites you go to, but actually watching your screen while you type, that I don't believe is happening. And if it was, it would be illegal.
Okay. Now, there is in this, I'm going to kind of change directions here if I can. There is in the world of streaming some of the most confusing, frustrating set of options and various platforms that I've ever encountered. It's become more confusing and frustrating, and honestly, like, I just want to turn the TV off. It's crazy. I want to watch Amazon, but I'm on Freebie or Tubi or Pluto or dude, get me back to some navigable options. It's absolute craziness. So you mentioned to me that Amazon has a new app that brings you 400 free ad-supported streaming channels. Okay, speak to that, but I'm promising you they're going to drive it down your throat. You're not going to be able to even find Amazon free. You're going to get driven to all of these damn channels that are supported by ads, even though you're paying a huge monthly.
Well, the free is ad-supported. That's their definition of free. It's the Freebie. It's the Tubi. It's the Pluto. And these channels apparently are very popular with people that are looking for an alternative to paying $20 a month per channel. I find them impossible to watch. I can't do it. I've turned on an old Clint Eastwood movie the other night. 3 minutes in, what came the commercial? 3 minutes. And I just turned it off and said, this is impossible. So anyway, so they've got this new Fire TV channels free app, supposedly 400 channels. It's a lot of junk, a lot of stuff you don't want to see, but it is all in one place. My answer to you, though, Mark, with your dilemma is very simple. Do you own an antenna? Do you have a broadcast TV antenna?
No.
I do. And I get CBS and NBC and ABC and Fox and all sorts of other channels. I don't pay for cable. It's great. The antenna of today is a lot different from the antenna that you grew up with as a kid. They have electronics in it. They have tuners. They're very powerful. They sell for about $50. I would highly, highly recommend. And then ditch the cable.
I might actually do that. Now, I will just tell you what I've done in my house. I have YouTube TV, so I dump the cable company and all of their channels, but I still pay for those channels. I'm talking about Max and Showtime and Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime and blah, 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 which is why I'm so annoyed that they drive all of these other channels down your throat that are, as you suggested, just a blizzard of ads. I mean, you lose the content in all the ads. So that's where I am, Jeff. And I got to say, I like YouTube TV. I think you have to establish what channels you want, and I'm still kind of in this place where I'm refining the guide, but I get all the local channels through YouTube TV, and I get the cable channels too, and I'm happy,
Yeah, I think YouTube TV is the best of the cable TV alternatives. It's just woefully way too expensive. I think you're paying $75 to $80 a month now. maybe more.
Yeah, but that's less than I pay for the internet.
No, you need internet to get YouTube TV.
Right, I'm saying, so I have to pay for the internet. I got to pay whatever it is, $110 a month, something like that. So yeah, you're into $200 a month just to just to keep the lights on, kind of thing. It's crazy, these costs. But anyway, there are 400 free ad-supported streaming channels now being announced by Amazon on a new app. So
they're pulling a bunch of channels into one place.
I see. Okay, but they'll all be available through that app, though. Yes,
right.
Mm-hmm. That's the thinking. So you also say that on this, I'm glad we kind of segued into cord cutting, because you're never really cutting the cord unless you're doing what you're talking about, which is the antenna. I mean, otherwise you need to pay for the cord to get you internet, don't you?
You need to pay for the cord to get the internet, but I would check your bill after the show, because I pay $50 a month for internet, and it's not like your house is that much bigger than mine. You better check that bill. So I pay $50 for the internet. I do get Amazon. I don't get Netflix. I go in, you know me, I go in and out of the channels. So right now, the only thing I'm getting is Hulu. And that's the only thing I'm paying for, because I like Only Murders in the Building. And once that's over, I'm out. Yeah.
That is Jefferson Graham, and people who are regular viewers of this show know this guy is the king of the 7-day trial that he then dances out of, and then he'll dance back in with a different email address, probably. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't said that, but I mean, you are the magic man when it comes to signing up for Disney Plus and then getting rid of it right before the charges start. Tell me about this suit involving Western Digital and consumer hard drives.
Okay, see this drive? I feel I'm very conflicted, because I have recommended this drive so many times. And apparently a version of this drive has been failing. There's nothing worse than, our stuff gets deleted and just goes off into the thin air because we bought a shoddy consumer product. The one I'm holding, this is a SanDisk 2 terabyte. I'm okay on this. The 4 terabyte version has been failing. 3 consumers are suing. A bunch of tech publications have been on Western Digital's butt for a comment, and they've been stonewalling them. And it's a real problem. So if you have one of these, I will send out a tweet with the information for where you can go to check your serial number and make sure that you're okay. But definitely have multiple drives, and don't only back up on one, because you know what happens. Hard drives do fail, and apparently these ones are failing a little bit more than usual. Western Digital and SanDisk pretty much dominate the market. So
yeah,
this is
now they're in court. I mean, 3 people are suing Western Digital anyway. Here's a reaction to some of what we were talking about. Let me just put my credibility glasses on. John says, Amazon Prime used to be awesome. I could watch so many great schlocky B and C grade 89 horror flicks for free. They dropped all of them and moved them to free ad-supported channels. That's kind of what's happened, huh, Jeff?
Yeah, Bosch, which was one of the most popular shows, is continuing on free V. And I don't know if they're as obnoxious, if the ads are as obnoxious.
Here Lori says that free V through Prime has less commercials, fewer commercials, I think, right, than the free V standalone app. So she says kind of watch it through Prime and you'll get fewer ads. Oh, that's a good little hack, maybe. Jefferson is frugal, says Ricky O'Bear. Yeah, he is. We love that about Jefferson Graham. I admire his dedication, says Ricky. Yeah.
Thank you, Ricky.
Internet cost depends on where you live. It's true. So,
yeah, I really don't believe you're paying $200 a month for your internet.
No, I said $110 for the internet. I think it's something.
I don't think you're paying $110.
All right. Well,
yeah, but check it when you get home, or you are home.
Okay.
Yeah, check it later.
Judge Judy is on Freebie. She is?
Yes.
Oh, I love my Judge Judy.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Yes.
I think it's Judy Justice.
Exactly. That's it. Sorry, Judy Justice, says Russ. It's called Judy Justice.
Right.
Yeah.
They realized that they had enough reruns of Judge Judy to last a lifetime, so she's just doing basically the same show at Amazon, where it's doing very well. And I think there's a bunch of spin-offs coming too.
Well, I love Judy, and I love her.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
Exactly. I like her.
In
whole
my
thing.
old life, Mark, I did a Talking Your Tech with her where we talked about Judge Judy's tech obsessions.
Oh,
that
really?
That was a fun interview. Yes.
Pinky says, love Judge Judy Justice or Judy Justice. It's new. It's good. But it is true what Jeff's saying that, and I've been a devotee of Judge Judy for some time now, and I will tell you that watching the old shows, you don't remember what the judge is going to say or do, and it's great. I mean, it's as though they're timeless, I guess might be another way to put it.
Well, and she wears the same thing in every show.
That's right.
Right?
That is true. Yeah. So, Jeff, Photo Walks TV, the show that features so much of what you've done. You've finished this comprehensive trip through the West. I love everything through Utah, the Dakotas, and the West. And this is the latest episode?
Jackson Hole, we premiered that last weekend, and this weekend will be Monument Valley, which is the iconic West that was seen in all the old Westerns from the 1940s, the John Ford movies. And it looks the same today. It looks amazing. So I just finished that, and that will be out this weekend.
I have to say something.
Yes.
In that moment that you're doing your thing, gosh, you remind me so much of your dad. It's sick how much you remind me of your dad. It's eerie almost. I mean, I'm looking at you, and it's almost like looking at your dad doing his thing. I loved his Bay Area back roads and all of that stuff. And you are doing, it just feels so much like Jerry Graham. It's great, man. It's great. I loved your father. So it's cool that there's the piece of him in you. All right, so check out Jeff's and get his newsletter because it hits your inbox with all kinds of good stuff that we don't even get a chance to discuss on the show. So thanks, Jeff. I will tell you how much I'm paying for the internet, and we will follow up on this for next time. All right.
Thanks,
Jefferson Graham, everybody. Thanks, Jeff.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. We're click-clacking along. There's been a click. There's been a clack. And things are rocking. Do I have time for my stories from the sky, Tony, or what's the situation? I mean, I wanted to try to we've had a lot of guests today, but
Thanks, Tony.
I mean,
what do
we
you
got
think?
8 minutes.
So let's do some, are you good with that, Kim? Some stories from the sky?
Bring it.
Okay, I've got some Hillary-type related news from Stories from the Sky, but I also have some important aviation-related news and some shocking news as well.
I like that.
United Airlines
So,
pilot said he
no,
reached
and I don't need it yet. I don't need it yet.
Oh.
Okay.
Preemptive clicking.
Yeah. So all of that will follow. And if you would smash the like button, give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the world of YouTube. Thank you all for sharing the show the way you do. Thank you for your super stickers and your super chats. Sadly, we are crowdfunded. The sad part is that I have to ask you to support us. But the great part is that the community of supporters is a real one, and we will be here and we'll work hard for you as long as you support us. So all of that continues. Now, without any further delay, how about some stories from the sky?
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
Sparks outside the cabin.
Oh, that's
a
not
rough
good.
landing. And one of the scariest airports in America lived up to its reputation, they say, during Tropical Storm Hillary, when an Alaska Airlines flight experienced an issue after landing at John Wayne Airport in Southern California. Alaska Airlines Flight 1288, carrying 106 passengers and 6 crew members, coming from Seattle to John Wayne Airport in Orange County. Part of the aircraft's landing gear punctured the wing, and the engine began dragging on the runway.
What?
There is video, and we will show it to you now.
Yikes.
Why did he turn brakes? I'll be brakes,
On a rainy runway, a hard landing, and now you see the sparks flying up underneath the left wing as you're sitting forward in the aircraft. It would be on your left. The airline's maintenance and safety teams are inspecting the aircraft. No one was hurt. The aircraft parked on a taxiway, and everyone exited the aircraft safely.
That's scary to see, though. Yikes.
Oh, my God. It's super scary to see. I mean, you know, you don't want to see sparks or flame or anything, right?
I mean, the good news, they're already set down, right? The bad news is there's sparks flying and you're afraid the plane's going to catch fire. So that's
right. I mean, you know, it can catch fire whether it's in the air or on the ground. It doesn't matter. The airport has an unusual design. Its main runway is just 5,700 feet long, which is shorter than the average airport runway. Like if you look at SFO air runways,
yeah,
they are 7,600 feet. This is 5,700 feet.
Oh,
just
so pilots have to. What's that?
You can see right here in the picture, like right coming across the top there. That's the freeway right before you land. That's the freeway right there.
Yeah, so they have to descend much more steeply. Right,
no room
they have
for
to ascend
error.
real fast too.
They ascend real fast and descend real fast, and throw in Tropical Storm Hillary and gusty winds, and you end up with a tough landing. Now they did make it, but you know, again, it was scary, and there was a little drama. Now, meantime, at the parking lot where employees leave the airport, a pilot, none too happy, smashes the parking lot gate with an axe to get out. He's had enough.
What?
Yeah.
We've
Check
all
it
had
out.
these moments of frustration, you know.
I know.
Why are you yelling?
Exactly. He's not yelling. He's slamming. Tony, can you show it? Here it is. I mean, this is at LAX. Look.
Oh.
And he just keeps slamming this thing, and finally it opens. But.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Well, you don't have to apologize, but you are going to have to see a judge. He was arrested.
The parking guys are like, yeah, you can't hurt our parking gate.
Yeah, the pilots were none too happy about that. You can see he was arrested and taken into custody.
You want your pilot to be more even keel, right?
Sure.
You want the pilot to be the person, when the S hits the fan in the sky, he's the calm one.
Right, it's pilot speak. They call it pilot speak, sure.
Everything is going extremely well.
Exactly, you want that guy, right.
You don't want the guy who's a loose cannon smacking the gate of the crossing, the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, you don't want the yelling guy.
No.
American Airlines pilots ratify a contract that raises compensation by, anybody know? How much more did American Airlines pilots, through negotiation, get in their new contract? How much of a raise did American Airlines pilots receive? Yeah, take a guess. Take a guess. How much of a raise in the new contract that has just been ratified by American Airlines pilots, so you know that they like whatever the raise is, they ratified the contract. What is their compensation raised by?
I'm going to say maybe another $12,000 a year.
Well, yeah, it's... John Slade says 30%. Jose says 4%. Buck says 40%. Brian says 50%. Eric says not as much as they should have. 50% from Russ, 50% from Brian, 24% from Randy. The actual retail price. American Airlines pilots approve a contract that will increase pilot compensation by more than 46%, everyone.
Wow, I think Randy's the closest.
Yeah, it also, as you can see, noted, includes other benefits and changes. Under the contract, the pay of pilots at the company immediately increases an average of 21% on ratification. But total compensation will have increased more than 46%, including pay raises and increased retirement contributions. The deal is broadly similar to contracts reached this year by pilots at Delta Airlines and United Airlines. Remember, we've talked about this. This is for that industry with air travel at all-time highs in terms of demand. This is true leverage for labor. And think of them, even though they wear ties and they sit up front, they are labor, those pilots. And so they get a huge increase, akin to the increases at some of those other airlines as well. And that deal was just ratified yesterday. That, my friends, is Stories from the Sky.
This has been Stories from the Sky. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, and you are now free to move about the cabin.
Yeah. What did I leave out, Kim? Anything? I think it's time to wrap up.
I have a touch of breaking news. I'll just read you the headline just so you know what's happening.
Yeah,
Mark Meadows and Jeffrey Clark,
Kim,
a couple of Trump's co-defendants in the Georgia case, are asking a judge if they can avoid turning themselves in. They don't want to go through this process of going to court and doing the whole booking thing. They're like, yeah, no, thank you. So now they're trying to get out of it. So,
wow. And how would they possibly get out of it? They would, they'd make a part of a deal. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're asking a judge if they can request the state court prosecution be moved to federal court instead, where they will then seek the dismissal of charges against them. That according to Mark Meadows and his attorney. So, yeah. But they don't want to go through the state of Georgia. They don't want to go through the whole booking process. I can imagine when you're faced with that, it's kind of overwhelming and scary. Well, wish you would have thought of that before you tried to thwart the American justice system or governmental system.
There's a quality of humiliation to it as well. I think that matters. And thwart is a ding word. How did the ding word stuff go down, Tony, please?
75-25.
75-25, they like the ding word. They want to keep it.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll poll it tomorrow as well. So those of you who hate it and write me stuff about how you hate it, you'll get your chance. You'll note today during the conversation with David Cay Johnston, during the conversation with Levin, during the conversation with everybody else I spoke to, Jefferson Graham, I did not ding. That was a little tip of the hat to those who don't like it. But again, vote. That is, thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
I want to shout out, though. Who can I shout out? I saw Gail Guthrie, I thought, today. Am I wrong?
Did.
Where are my, Gail, we love you. You are HOF. One ringy dingy for 20.
That's awesome.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
And, Gail, when I talk about you, I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
But I could. Spencer Jaffe for 5. Thank you, Spencer.
Big shout out.
Yeah, and we appreciate all your contributions. Those who have an interest in our meet and greet, it is on Monday. It's 2 hours, and we're only taking 20. So we stop the guest list at 20. If you're interested, RSVP to mtsmeetup@gmail.com to reserve a spot for $50. It helps raise money for the show and helps secure your spot. Guest list is limited to the first 20 that sign up.
Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show.
We'll get Shadow Stevens. Yeah, that'll be fun. The After Party Live is next. I love an after party, and I love it to be live. Till tomorrow, bye-bye.